This video introduces my paper entitled The Complements of Causative Make in Late Middle English. In this paper, I focus on the verb make used causatively and examine which types of complements it selects in 15th century English. I will show that the modern pattern with a bare infinitive was not yet dominant, and that several linguistic and cognitive factors influenced the choice of complement. The main aim of the study is to describe and explain the complement patterns of causative make in late Middle English. More specifically, I compare three types of complements: that clauses, two infinitives or for two infinitives, and bare infinitives. I then ask which linguistic conditions favor each pattern. The data come from 15th century prose texts included in the Middle English prose corpus of Iyeiri. Altogether, I analyze 809 examples of causative make in the active voice. The 15th century is an interesting period for the analysis of causative make, since the system of complementation was still in flux, which allows us to observe variation between the different complement types. As for the overall distribution of the three complement types, that clauses after causative make are extremely rare in this material. They account for only about 1% of all examples. Secondly, two infinitives and for two infinitives are clearly dominant throughout the 15th century. Thirdly, bare infinitives do appear, but they are still a minority pattern in most texts. So contrary to what we might expect from present-day English, the pattern make plus bare infinitive had not yet become the usual option in the late Middle English period. The next question is, when do we find two infinitives, and when do we find bare infinitives? Here I draw on Rodenburg's complexity principle, which predicts that more cognitively complex environments tend to favor more explicit grammatical options. In my data, this is reflected in two ways. First, when the object of make is a noun phrase which is syntactically heavier than a personal pronoun, make tends to select two infinitives or for two infinitives. Second, when there are more words or additional elements between make and its complement, the verb again prefers two infinitives or for two infinitives. Thus, explicit forms correlate with syntactically complex environments, whereas bare infinitives are more typical in structurally simple contexts. There are two special patterns that I would like to mention. The first is the type in which the object is not overtly expressed, as in make-believe. In such cases, the object is recoverable from the context and can be left unexpressed. Although examples of this type are infrequent, the analysis suggests that in texts where bare infinitives are generally frequent, this zero object type shows a slight preference for bare infinitives, although two infinitives are still very common. The second pattern involves coordination of complements. When two infinitives are coordinated, the infinitival marker is often omitted in the second one. This shows a tendency to reduce marking and to choose a lighter form in coordinated structures, even though coordination itself might be considered cognitively complex. Finally, I briefly focus on the verbs in the complement. In Caxton's works, 3 verbs are particularly frequent: be, die, and come. The verb be very strongly favors to infinitives, especially in passive expressions such as to be dressed. By contrast, die and to a lesser extent come occur relatively often as bare infinitives in the complement. This may be related to the degree of directness in the causation. Make someone die expresses more direct causation than make someone come, where the causee must still decide to come, at least in theory. To conclude, the study shows that in 15th century English, causative make still most often takes 2 infinitives or for 2 infinitives, and that the modern bare infinitive pattern emerges only gradually. At the same time, the choice of complement is influenced by syntactic complexity and cognitive factors such as directness and integration between make and its complement. Thank you very much for your attention.